Okay, welcome to Lesson 9 of the IELTS Speaking 7.5. Again, this course is designed for people that want to get over a 6 to a 6.5 to a 7 and ambitiously beyond. Can cover this whole range, depending on how much you study. So this is Part 3 Advanced Answers, following on from Lesson 8 when we did Part 2. So, recap of a little bit of approach and advice for Part 3. Part 3 combines language, ideas about the world, and discourse knowledge, ability to maintain and manage kind of conversation. That's easy to say, yes, but how do we do this? Well, language. Improving your English language ability. Obviously, that's one of the reasons you're here. It's not really about complex language, as I keep saying. Advanced English is about using lexical chunks naturally and flexibly. Idiomatic expressions that native speakers really do use, not ones which are obscure or strange. Mainly about natural common collocations, used again where native speakers would normally use them naturally, and language that can be developed a lot by reading contemporary news and opinion articles. That's another thing. We can develop language for wider issues that come up in Part 3 by reading an article in The Economist, by reading articles in Yahoo News or whatever it might be. Reading English language articles. Nothing too complicated. Contemporary news and opinions. Underlining lexical chunks and phrases to build and develop language. Right, so what does discourse mean? Well, discourse can mean more or less the art of conversation. The science of conversation, if you will. Conversation is a bit like an art and a bit like a science. Responding with your own thoughts, the ideas about the world which you've listened to or read, some of your own simple thoughts about these, linking your ideas logically, managing discourse markers, linking words, things you say to introduce opinions in a more natural native way, not rushing your speech, speaking clearly without being hurried. Pronunciation and speech rate will improve fluency. You will notice that I'm not talking particularly fast for most of this course, and my pausing, my stressing, the rhythm of my sentences make me sound like a native. Listen to online discussions between native speakers. Listen to the different styles people of different personalities may have. Because obviously people with different personalities vary their discourse management skills. So listen to these and just adopt the ones that feel more comfortable for you, the ones that will enable you to feel more confident in the test. Right, so ideas about the world. Take an interest in issues from home and abroad and globally. I don't mean complicated or deep political issues, just read about the world. If you like sports, read about sporting news. Read a couple of articles a day about sporting news. Read about what's happening in the world, key discussions, debates, topics of controversy or opinion. What local issues face your country, your city, your social group of friends, or your area of society? What kind of issues do people talk about? What are people worried about? Think about these wider social issues and have some opinions about them. Part 3, let's get into it. So, remember, Part 3 is about, or at least it is based on, the topic of Part 2. A discussion with the examiner on that topic. About wider social issues, not your personal life, but it can involve your opinions, involving giving and supporting your opinions about these social issues. Part 3, after a Part 2 question about healthy activities, remember, our previous lesson topic was healthy activities, so in Part 3, the examiner might ask about activities, hobbies, pastimes, interests in your country, might ask about sports, health, fitness, healthy eating, attitudes to diet in China, health, medical issues, responsibility. These kind of topics which can bounce off, come from, closely related to, but branching off the topic of Part 2. Whoops. So in this lesson, in this Part 3 lesson, we will be covering the topics of health and fitness and medical care and responsibility, and the discussion techniques of giving and supporting opinions and evaluating two different opinions. So, the examiner says, now we've been talking about an activity that you think is healthy. I'd like to ask you one or two more general questions related to this. First, let's discuss health, fitness, and eating. Health, fitness, and eating. Do you think children should be taught about health and fitness in schools? Do you think children should be taught about health and fitness in schools? Yes, I strongly believe that it is very important children are taught about keeping fit and healthy. I think it's not just the responsibility of the family, but also of the schools. We cannot do anything in life if we do not have our health. So it is essential that people learn from an early age about keeping fit and eating healthy foods. I'm going to read that again, and I want you to also pay attention to my pace, my stresses, and my pauses, my chunking. Yes, I strongly believe that it is very important children are taught about keeping fit and healthy. I think it is not just the responsibility of the family, but also of schools. We cannot do anything in life if we do not have our health. So it is essential that people learn from an early age about keeping fit and eating healthy foods. So, giving and supporting opinions. In giving an opinion, we follow these steps. Your opinion. A native speaker opinion phrase. Why you believe it. Adjective phrases of benefit and advantage are useful here. And some examples. So your opinion, step 1. Do you think that junk food is okay for children to eat? I certainly do. Yes, certainly. Absolutely not. I most certainly don't think so. So, very simple. Native speaker opinion opening statements, introducing positive responses and introducing negative responses. This is easy enough for you, I know, but let's develop on these. So, positive phrases. I strongly believe that. I think that. I'm fairly sure that. I'm of the opinion that. I'm convinced that. I'm certain that. Again, we want to use these and learn to practice them in context, though, if we really want to increase our score. Negative phrases again first, before we move on. No, I certainly don't think that. I am not convinced that. I do not believe that. I don't share the opinion that. I really don't think that. I strongly oppose the idea that. Now, I'm sure you know all of these, but again, it's how to use them. Do you think that children should be taught about health and fitness in schools? You could say. Certainly not. I strongly believe that the family should be responsible for teaching children about health. Absolutely. I firmly believe that it is responsibility of all adults to teach kids about keeping fit and healthy. Yes, certainly. I am fairly sure that all school children would benefit from learning about physical fitness and eating healthily. No, not really. I don't think there is time in school to focus on this. They should learn that from their parents. Again, pause the video. Write these down. These are great phrases. You can use these and change them around, adapt them to different answers, check you've got them grammatically agreeing and referencing correctly. Very useful phrases. Why you believe it, positive. It's good for verb ing. It's necessary for people to verb. It's essential for verbing or people to verb. It's very important for noun, people, verb ing. People should plus verb. It gives people the chance to plus verb or plus noun. Again, can you remember these formulas? Not exactly. That's why we learn things in contexts. It's good for children to learn from both school and their families. It's necessary for schools to teach them about physical and mental health. Take responsibility for. Schools should all take responsibility for children's learning, including health and fitness. It gives children the chance to integrate their physical education classes with learning about fitness and health. Why you don't believe it, negative. It would be inappropriate, verb, for noun. It's unfair to, plus verb. It's not necessary to, plus verb. It's unethical to, plus verb. People should, plus verb. It's unreasonable to. It's unlikely that, plus noun or people or future verb. Again, learn these in contexts. It would be inappropriate to expect teachers to educate children about health and fitness. It would be inappropriate to expect teachers to educate children. Expect someone to. It's unfair to give schools the responsibility for children's education. It's unfair to give schools the responsibility for children's education. It's not necessary to make schools teach fitness and health. It's not necessary to make schools teach fitness and health. Parents should do this. It's unlikely that schools have time to teach health education on top of all the other academic subjects. It's unlikely that schools have time to teach health education on top of the other academic subjects. Be careful with forms. Remember, we follow things with some verbs that require a to or a bare infinitive or an ing. So get these right and double check them. It's not necessary to make schools teach fitness and health. Parents should do this. So it's not necessary to make someone do something. Make someone do something. It's not necessary to expect schools to teach. Why? Because we say expect someone to infinitive. Expect someone to do something. But make someone do something. So make someone do, expect someone to do. Get these right. It's not necessary that schools teach fitness and health. It's not necessary that schools teach fitness and health. Bare infinitive, no to. It's not necessary that schools teach fitness and health. Parents should do this. Right, so further examples. It would be inappropriate. It would be inappropriate to make people pay to enter parks. It's unfair to force very young children to wear uniforms, school uniforms, to force someone to do something. It's unfair to force very young children to wear school uniforms. It's not necessary to test makeup and chemicals on animals. So get the infinitives, the prepositions. Right. And the other preposition at the end there, on animals. To test something on someone. To test makeup on animals. I'm giving you these examples as well so you can see how these kind of phrases can be used in many, many, many contexts across the test. But we must get those little verb forms correct depending on what verbs we're using with these phrases. So, follow-up question. So the examiner in part 3 will ask a question, you'll give an answer, and will often follow it up with another question and then a series of questions. So what kind of things should they be taught specifically? So remember, we're talking about children in school being taught about healthy things. What kind of things should they be taught specifically? Well, for example, when I was in school, we learned about the importance of eating fresh fruits and vegetables and avoiding eating processed foods and lots of sweets and candies. We also had PE lessons, physical education, where we did running, team sports, and some gymnastics. Again, listen to my pronunciation, my pausing, my rhythm. Well, for example, when I was in school, we learnt about the importance of eating fresh fruits and vegetables and avoiding eating processed foods and lots of sweets and candies. We also had PE lessons, physical education, where we did running, team sports, and some gymnastics. So, introducing kinds of, types of, describing types. Well, for example, when I was in school, we did. As an example, I know several friends who do. There are several kinds of activities that are popular today. For example, there are a number of games which children play in school. For instance, one game is... So these are 4 ways of introducing a type of something as an example or a supporting point. And these make you sound very native. And they're simple ideas, they're simple language, but used in this way, they're very high scoring. Right, the importance of, it is important to. Another preposition verb phrase issue here that we need to just briefly touch upon for those higher scores. We learnt about the importance of plus ing, activity verb. We learnt that it is important to plus verb infinitive. Get this right. In school, we were taught the importance of being polite. State verb, ing here. In school, we were taught the importance of being polite. My parents taught me that it is important to eat fresh fruits, not candies or sweets. That it is important. That it is important. Get the pronunciation right. My parents taught me that it is important. That it is important. Those end consonants will make you sound like a native and make you sound clear. But to get them right, you have to slow down a little bit. My parents taught me, small pause, that it is important to eat fresh fruits and not candies and sweets. We always learned about the importance of taking part in team sports. We always learned about the importance of taking part in team sports. So, the importance of plus verb ing, that it is important to plus infinitive. Those mistakes will stop you getting a 7. Get it right, you can get a 7 or more. So, part 3, open discussion activity continued, medical care and responsibility is now going to be the topic. Evaluating 2 different opinions is going to be the discussion or discourse technique. So, some people believe that medical care should be free for everyone. Others believe that it is too much of a burden on the government. What do you think? Some people believe that medical care should be free for everyone. Others believe that this is too much of a burden on the government. What do you think? Well, I can see both sides. On the one hand, a large number of people think that all medical treatment should be free of charge and that it is essential for a healthy and stable society. However, on the other hand, a lot of middle-class people feel that this will cost far too much money and that the money will come directly or indirectly from their taxes. So they think that hospital bills should be partially, but not fully, government funded. Again, the pausings here making me sound more native as much as the language. Let's break this down. The logic of this quite advanced answer. There's an introduction phrase. Quantity and types of people phrase plus one opinion. A transitional word, however, although, while, on the other hand. Quantity and types of people phrase, other opinion. So, introduction, quantities and types of people plus one opinion. Transitional word, quantities and types of people, other opinion. Evaluating two different opinions. So my introduction phrase was very simple. Well, I can see both sides. Well, I can see both sides. A simple, nuanced, intelligent, discourse marker introduction. Well, I can see both sides. You could develop on this. People have different views on this. I can understand both perspectives. I can see why people disagree on this issue. People from different backgrounds may have different opinions on this. It's common that people don't usually see eye to eye on this issue. Copy these phrases down. They are all really good, natural, native speaker introduction phrases to anything to do with giving an opinion. I'll say them again. People have different views on this. I can understand both perspectives. I can see why people disagree on this issue. People of different backgrounds may have different opinions on this. It is common that people don't usually see eye to eye on this issue. Right, so, well, I can see both sides. On the one hand, a large number of people think that all medical treatment should be free of charge and that it is essential for a healthy and stable society. On the other hand, a lot of middle-class people feel that this will cost far too much money. On the one hand, however, on the other hand. So, transitional words. I know you know these words. I know you know these phrases, but are you using them in the intelligent way that we're using them today to get that higher score? That's the question. So, weighing up two different opinions, get them right, don't make these basic mistakes. On the one hand, plus someone's opinion. However, on the other hand, plus the other person's opinion. Many people think, so this is a different way to do it now, many people think, plus someone's opinion, although other people tend to think, plus other person's opinion. Many active people love sports. However, my brother can't stand them. Pause before however. Many active people love sports. However, my brother can't stand them. My uncles don't like politics. Whereas my father loves political discussions. See how we're using these and see where we're pausing. Right. Some people believe that medical care should be free for everyone. Others believe that this is too much of a burden on the government. What do you think? Well, I can see both sides. On the one hand, a large number of people think that all medical treatment should be free of charge, and that it is essential for a healthy and stable society. However, on the other hand, a lot of middle-class people feel that this will cost far too much money, and that the money will come. Look at the phrases in bold. On the one hand, a large number of people think that, plus opinion. On the other hand, a lot of middle-class people feel that, plus their opinion. So notice what we're doing here. What we're doing is mentioning quantity and types of people, because Well, it's also intelligent. Not every Chinese person has the same opinion. Not every English person has the same opinion. People from different backgrounds, different societies, different incomes, different cities, different ages, actually usually have different experiences in life and different opinions. So if you claim everyone in China has the same opinion, it will not really make you sound very intelligent in the exam. You won't sound intelligent, but you also won't be developing the kind of language which we're practicing here. So there's another reason to develop slightly more sophisticated opinions, is because it means you're using slightly more sophisticated ways of expressing things in English. So quantities and types of people plus opinion is a really good way to add more language and sound more intelligent. So the majority of children love playing sports. No, not all children. Don't say all children love sports. That's not true. I hated sports. The majority of children love playing sports. Nearly all young people believe social media is very important in their lives. Nearly all young people believe social media is very important in their lives. So, quantities and types of people, these expressions. Lots of young people think. The majority of older people believe. Creative, artistic people tend to hold the opinion that. Hard-working, ambitious people think. Nearly all teenagers believe that. Most elderly people feel. Almost all successful businessmen believe. A significant majority of working class people feel that. Okay? Lots of young people think. The majority of older people believe. Creative, artistic people tend to hold the opinion that. Hard-working, ambitious people think. Nearly all teenagers believe. Most elderly people feel. Almost all successful businessmen believe. A significant majority of working class people feel that. See how we're really sounding a lot more sophisticated, even though the actual language itself is, to be honest, not that complicated. So, obligations and responsibilities, we've got some passive and active issues to just clean up here. Get the basic grammar structures right. So, should be plus past participle, ought to be plus past participle. How can you use these structures correctly like a native speaker? Think about it for a moment. Because sometimes we get them wrong and they're really very simple. People should do. People ought to do. Right. Break it down is a better way of doing it. So when and why do we use the passive? I'm going to read all 6 sentences. There's only one passive, which is the first sentence. Hospital bills should be funded by the government. The government should fund hospital bills. People ought to be more responsible for the environment. People should be more responsible for the environment. Young people should behave more respectfully in public. Young people ought to behave more respectfully in public. All sound fantastic, all sound great. So ought to and should, pretty much exactly the same. The only difference here is where we use the passive. We've only used it once. Why have we only used it in one sentence here? Don't overuse the passive. Use it in the right places. Now, the rule that you probably know is we use the passive when the receiver or the object of the action is the most important part of the phrase, not the doer. The receiver of the action. We do not exactly know, or it's not important, who is doing the action. And thirdly, when we already know that the doer of the action is a large authority or government. This is a given. So we use the passive when the action, the person doing it is not that important, or they're a large important entity, and the receiver is the one which is the main point of the sentence. It's best to look at examples. So examples. Now, just I'm going to read these, listen to the content, listen to the patterns, see what the common patterns are here, and it'll become more obvious. All medical treatments should be funded by the government or by whoever is in authority in that country. All medical treatments should be funded. Everyone should receive partial funding for medical costs. Everyone should receive partial funding. All children should be taught basic first aid in school. Taught by who? Well, the school authorities, I'm guessing. The point is, it's not who's doing the teaching, it's the fact that children should be taught. It's important that university students are given proper advice about health and safety. Again, from who? Presumably the university authorities. It is important that university students are given proper advice about health and safety. Drivers should be fined for not wearing seat belts. You know, the government should fine drivers, or the police should fine drivers. It sounds better to say drivers should be fined for not wearing seat belts. All food factories must be given strict guidelines and should be regulated. Should be regularly monitored, same as regulated, by the authorities. All food factories must be given strict guidelines and should be regularly monitored by the authorities. Restaurants need to be strictly controlled to reduce incidences of food poisoning. So you see, the passive is being used when the receiver of the action is more important and when the thing doing the action is a big authority, something which we either know is going to be an authority, so we don't need to say it, or something which is not necessarily the important thing, the doer. The actual action and result is the important thing. So again, use these examples. Change them a little bit, but don't lose the grammar and don't lose the meaning. Pause the video, use these examples, come up with your own sentences with the same structures. So, let's move on to collocations and phrases for health. There's many you could come up with. That's why I say go and find an article about health and underline more that you can find. But here's a few simple ones. To eat healthily, to maintain a healthy diet, to keep in shape, to keep fit and healthy. Collocations, to keep fit and healthy, to pay attention to what you eat. We must pay attention to what we eat. She must pay attention to what she eats. I should pay attention to what I eat. To get plenty of exercise. To work out regularly. Work out regularly. Use these phrases as often as you can. Slip them in, slide them into answers about phrases to do with health. You can use them also obviously in part 1 and part 2 as well. So, task, build on these. Go find a few articles in English, online, about current attitudes to health and fitness. Note down collocations, words, phrases, opinions that you think are interesting or useful and that you could incorporate into your answers or opinions. So go find 2 articles, get a blank sheet of paper, read, make notes, do this task. Then bring that back to the table, bring that back to your language of discussion for part 3. Medical phrases, free healthcare, hospital costs, hospital bills, partially, fully, partly government funded, partially, fully, partly government funded, to take out a good health insurance. Most companies offer social security. Our social insurance covers most routine hospital visits. To go for regular checkups at the doctors. Questions to think about. What are some of the challenges in keeping fit and healthy in today's modern world? Well, the pressure of daily life. So think about this question. Just think about the question. Training the brain. What are some of the challenges of keeping fit and healthy in today's modern world? The pressures of daily life. The pressure of daily life. Pollution, traffic, and the stress of city life. How to counterbalance this with individual efforts. So we're just getting thinking about the subject. To what extent do holidays contribute to your health and happiness? Well, they're a necessary break from the routine. Well, we all need to take a break from the daily grind. It's great to go to a place, a quiet place, and wind down. Think about these kind of incorporating collocations common amongst native speakers into your phrases like above. These are some examples you might draw from articles that you read. Again, reflect, think about your answers, think about using collocations, write them down. So note, don't forget you simply can't predict what the examiner will ask you in part 3, but you can develop confidence in a range of topic areas, training yourself to use very topical lexical chunks, groups of language, collocations, in the context of giving opinions. Everything you've learnt today can be applied to multiple types of questions, actually, and aspects of the test. So train yourself to manipulate them according to your needs, according to how they could be used in different types of questions. So, a task for you. Again, please do the task, because you will not train yourself if you don't do these tasks and make these notes. So, answer these questions yourself using what we have studied today. Do you think children should be taught about healthy eating in schools? Do you believe that students should have to pass physical fitness tests or exams in university? Some people think that the government should make all medical care free for everyone, while some people say that this would lead to many other problems. What do you think of these views? So try and use not only the topical lexical chunks we've learnt today, but the techniques we've also talked about to weigh up opinions, etc., etc. Okay, right, so thank you very much. That's it for me. I'll see you in the next lesson.